holiday, so I hope yours was a good one, a safe one, and I hope that you got a time to enjoy a little bit of peace and family. And we are back with Mark Dale from RxSafe Marin. We have Trevor Henley, our that's me, I'm the operations. Our executive director and inspirational activist for Desire to Inspire Studios, and the effervescent Michael Pritchard.
Ooh, effervescent. Bubbly. Yes. I feel like a fresca.
There you go. As you know, I run this show, and I have decided that I get to have Mr. Mark Dale on the show for as long as I want, because he's got a lot to share with us, and he's got a lot. I have a lot of questions, and I kind of want to continue to dig into the issues that are surrounding our youth and surrounding the mental health in our community in Marin County, and particularly because it is starting so young, and it has gotten increasingly younger and younger over the last 20 years or so, maybe 25 years. And that's my research and my understanding of things. And I am still being brought to light on stuff that is going on in our community and in the schools that I didn't even know was a possibility. The idea of the level of, what's the word I'm looking for? The level of escape that our youth are looking for.
Wow.
Is staggering, and the lengths that they are willing to go to find that escape are staggering, and the availability of that escape are also staggering. So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is the Raw and Mark show today. Michael and I are here just as decoration. So.
Vanna White.
Vanna White.
A mask, though.
Well, you know, I can't believe it took almost 50 years to get on this show. I actually have a big donut background that you guys don't know about.
No, please share. Really?
When I was born in Chicago, and my parents took my three brothers and me on a road trip for a year and a week throughout Canada, U.S., and a little bit in New Mexico, hardly, but mostly Canada, U.S. And then it ended with a big crash, unfortunately, up in Canada, a year and a week. Wow. And we got to Santa Rosa. And so got to Santa Rosa when I was somewhere close to 11, and I was the one who was primarily injured out of the crash, thrown out on the freeway at about 60 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Survived it, yep. And so that was pretty intense. Yeah. And Medicine Hat was the closest town, and the Calgary Stampede was going on up there.
Yeah.
And they invited our entire family, minus me, because I was still convalescing. And they were like special guests at the Calgary Stampede, so it was kind of sweet. Wow. Then we deadheaded it to Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
And then from there, but at about age 12, I got it in my head that my two older brothers were doing their thing. My younger brother was behind me. But I started working. And it's the way I got my strokes as a kid, was that I told my dad, don't need allowance anymore, please keep it.
Yep.
Earning my money, 12.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it started a whole work ethic. Kept me busy. It interfaced me with a lot of different folks. I mean, there's one person I will never forget who I miss dearly. Jonesy was his name. And he was a homeless guy. And this is back in 70s, right around 74, 75, 76. And sweetheart of a guy. But that was my first exposure to homelessness. And I didn't know people were homeless. You know, I just had never computed that there's homeless folks. And now, I mean, this last couple of days ago, I was over Berkeley. Oh my God, you're driving along the freeway.
Yeah.
Encampment. We got a hell of a problem here.
Yes.
That's for another show. But so in working, it gave me a sense of value, a work ethic. I was special. I got my strokes from my parents a different way than my brothers did. And it kind of continued through my life. And so when you ask that question about our youth, I've heard so many times, we have nothing to do. Our youth have nothing to do. There's nothing to do. I get it. Yeah. I get it loud and clear. In fact, Santa Rosa, when I was a kid, I asked my oldest son and his girlfriend the other day, I said, you know what we used to do as a kid on 4th Street? And it was driving the cars back and forth. It was party central.
That was American Graffiti, which was filmed in downtown Santa Fe and as well in Petaluma that George did. But that was the whole thing about Modesto, because that was the place to be seen, to see and be seen. And it was cool and it was hip. But you're accomplishing nothing until they started the drag racing, and then it became extremely
Sideshows.
dangerous. Yeah,
Sideshows.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, idiots on the Golden Gate Bridge
Yep.
Yeah.
trying to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. What brain cell is missing here?
So it's time. So my husband is from a very small town in Northern California, up by Mount Shasta.
Okay.
It's beautiful town.
Beautiful area.
It's beautiful. It's quaint. Like snowboarding to school. It's like a thing.
Zip lining.
Yeah. And he's like, "Would you ever?" I was like, "Never, ever would I ever." Small town, because I'm terrified of the lack of things to do. Like the idea of I don't like colloquialisms all that much, but the whole concept of
big one.
idle hands. Look,
you're
I've
all
got
in it
all the SAT words today.
She said
All
malleable
of
this
them.
morning as well, and I was like, we did it.
Ding. We need a ding bell. Okay.
No, but like the idea, like that, you kids they're ever curious.
Yes.
They're ever learning, and experience is where they gain the knowledge to do better.
But when they're sitting here like this all day long,
Because they don't have the option to do anything else.
and they're seeing all their friends going skiing, they're not going skiing. I
Well-
feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But as well, in
exactly.
particular, right now because of COVID, things are limited. They've isolated, and then they've self-isolated more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's the issue right now that we can help address
Absolutely.
by finding things for them to do, other things for them to be involved in.
Yeah.
Discovering things and solutioneering. What are things you can be doing? Like introducing them to what we do here.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it gives them the opportunity
Yeah.
to reintegrate into a social climate
Right.
that is more forgiving.
Yes.
Talking to my son's teacher, like the schools understand that these kids are less so about the academic delay and more so about the social delay. They've had almost 3 years of not being able to learn to socialize with each other face to face, not figuring out how to conflict manage face to face.
Right.
All of those things that they get from interacting with their peers, they lost out on. And these are developmental, like certain things are learned at certain stages.
Right.
And so, at least at my school, at least the school my son goes to, there's a lot of forgiveness around being antsier than normal or having their expectations are more reasonable. Like these kids are coming out of a trauma.
Anxiety levels are just off the charts.
Yeah.
And just what you're saying, I just was asked to come and speak at an elementary school where that issue had become, they've all reemerged back in, and some of them had learned to be mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, wait, what? You weren't like this last year or the year before, and now you're being mean. You're being a bully to me. And then we gave them an opportunity to get up and share with the other kids what impact it has on them. And the minute the kids were talking about in sorrow how they were being treated, the other kids were super apologetic and readily admitted that they had been one of the problems, that they had found, that they thought, okay, I can be meaner than I was before. That'll prove I'm more cool. And that as soon as they heard the suffering and the victimization, they got back to being better kids, which is really urgently important.
Yeah.
And I think the more we give those opportunities, and especially for young moms, you don't want to send it's always like sometimes before COVID, it was like sending a baby seal to a shark tank.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Because you hear when they come home, they were like crazy. They were all on me. And you're like, why you?
Yeah.
Every parent said, why you?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
You had 7 friends last year. Now you have nobody to talk to.
Right.
And so, we have to talk to our teachers. We have to talk to our community. We have to do what we're doing here now. But you see the end of this, which is if they haven't received help, by the time they're in high school, they can become suicidal, or they can be victims of OD. They can choose because they thought, okay, this is how it's going to be for the rest of eternity. This kind of cruelty level. And for the sensitive or anxious kid, that causes problems. But how do you think we can help with this stuff? Because you're a mom. right in the schools. What can we do better?
And I have a very sensitive kid.
Yeah.
I have a very sensitive kid.
Which is good.
It is good.
No,
it is
no,
good.
no,
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 he is.
honestly.
He is the most tender heart.
Yeah.
He told me the other day, story time. He told me the other day that he wanted to go to the spa. And I said, absolutely, we would go to the spa. And he's like, what happens at a spa? It just sounds fancy. I want to go. So I explained to him
Well,
the
you clean your room.
services. right? No, I explained to him the services that were offered and which ones he would be able to participate in, specifically like the mani and the pedi. And the facials. And I explained that there were people who provided these services. And the idea that somebody would be made to service someone else in that fashion upset him. He felt bad for them.
Wow.
And I was like, they get paid very well, sweetheart. I promise you.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. It's like, you still feel bad? He's like, I don't feel good about that. And I was like, you will be everyone's favorite customer for the rest of your life. Your compassion about the work that they are putting in will keep you on their favorite list. He's like, okay. I was like, but keep that heart. And I tell him all the time, you have a beautiful, compassionate heart.
Title of a good book.
What?
Keep that heart.
Keep that
Ooh, I
heart.
like
That is
That's
a good title.
That's
But
good.
fostering that level of compassion for people you don't even know, people you haven't even met yet, people whose pieces of their story you are gleaning.
Right.
That needs to be fostered in our young.
Yes.
And that is done through reading stories, through sharing
Yes.
culture, through commiserating with the new, English as a second language students.
Well, there's a thread here because what Michael was talking about, what you're talking about, I don't know if it still is in any of the schools in Marin, but there was something called Challenge Day. And did you ever? Okay. So,
Always, yeah. I
so-
worked with them a lot. Yeah.
And it was and it was really impactful. And our oldest son, I remember at the time with him. I don't remember my two other kids that going through this, but I think it was 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere in there. And what ended up happening must have been 5th grade. So what happened is there's a line in the middle of the gymnasium, and they have all the students on one side. Okay, any student who's been called fat.
That's a new challenge. That's recent.
Any student who's been called stupid. Any student, and by the end of this process,
Why did you bring up my two worst flaws right now?
I was thinking about just getting up and starting to cross the room, but I didn't see a line.
They're not flaws, they're flourishes.
but the
Comedy
problem,
opportunity.
the problem was, kids were sobbing, and our oldest
Yes.
was quite small at that age,
yeah,
and the small jokes he got, and even when he showed up his first day at high school, the elementary school is down the street, and that kind of crap, and so it was very difficult though because kids were compassionate to each other, but then bullies picked up that information they had gotten.
They saw the
Took that
weakness.
and run with it.
And a
yeah.
couple of days later, they started using that, and there was not a mechanism really in place
Right,
to help the kids properly process it and work it through because it was
Right.
so raw.
right. There wasn't a debrief.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing.
There wasn't a debrief.
That's what I'm saying to you is that's the title of a good television show.
Oh man,
The debrief?
you got a book and a television.
Boy, you guys
show.
are on fire today. I feel like I'm way back
The
here.
book is Keep That Heart.
Right. In the movie is
and
the
the
debrief.
TV show is Debrief because that's what I do with all my parolees all the time.
Yeah.
I go, let's go through the emotional archaeology. How am I and you sitting together here at San Quentin, at Corcoran, at Pelican Bay, and how is it that you arrived here? And recently, the new mayor, I love this guy. So far, I like him. He's a police captain who's the mayor of New York, who announced yesterday that 38% of the men in the state penal system in New York are dyslexic. 65% have learning differences.
Yep.
Folks, hello. If you have any of these neurodiversity issues, you arrive at school where perfectionism is expected and discipline is coldly distributed for control to make you comply and be obedient to the system that doesn't care that you have a learning difference because TikTok, you've got to have your mom and dad find a way to get you into Harvard or Yale with the couple of $100,000 extra. You catch my drift. there's pressure on these kids. Right. There's pressure on the kids that aren't poor. There's pressure on the kids that are poor.
Right.
And you can find, I promise, I swear to you, as a law enforcement person, you can find both of those individuals in a prison.
Yep. Yep.
And now I'll get down off my soapbox.
No. That was a beautiful
go, bro.
soapbox. I'm gonna loop it back. So if you think about the purpose of a school system, right? It's twofold. It's an education, and it's a way to systematically decide who goes where.
Right.
Right? So all of these kids are getting the same education.
Right.
And that is how they are determined which direction they're going to go in. Right?
Yep.
So if everybody's receiving algebra courses, everybody's getting English courses, these kids are flourishing and they're quick-witted. They're the innovators, right?
Right.
There are weird ones.
Right.
There are weird ones. Those are the ones that are bright and defiant. Right?
Right.
And you've got our compliance kids, the ones who go along to get along, right? And then you have our kids that are struggling for some reason, academically, at home. And we now know that's our society right there. We have determined who these kids are going to be for the rest of their lives.
Right. Exactly. That is the problem.
And if you have a kid who rails against any of those choices that have been made for them, that's where we come into problems.
Yeah.
That's where we find the anxiety and the depression and the look for escape, because they have been somebody else who doesn't care, who just wants them in a system that makes sense to them, has told them who they are going to be.
Let me help you right now.
Please.
$50 million Meatloaf passed away having. But he was an oppositional defiance disorder kind of guy from the very beginning.
No.
And Dad was a cop who beat him, loved his mom, tried to help his mother and family as best he could. But he suffered, sadly, in systems that couldn't see him.
Right.
And
right.
yet, the genius of his heart and the songs that he wrote captured a following
Right.
from the 70s all the way through another 6 decades.
Yeah.
It was like 100 million albums.
Yeah. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But he found his way, right?
The problem is even towards the end, he was angry. We hadn't helped him with the anger.
There was no debrief.
All right.
There was no debrief.
you see why
There
I
was
bring
no
it
debrief.
around.
Full circle.
But you think about it,
There
like
is.
we've got these kids who are processing life, like processing trauma, processing rules, processing interpersonal communication between their peers, between their parents, between their siblings. And no one is saying, how did today feel to you?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not what did you do?
Right.
How did today feel to you?
Well, you're so rare, in all honesty, because
This is why I want her in the college classroom.
Yeah, parents
So
are.
she could fit into that system.
So I can burn it down. So I can burn it down.
The system will collapse the minute that human
Yeah.
that human quirk, that spark of humanity explodes on everybody, just the same way when they were trying to control people at Santa Cruz University, and they were going to have this and that, and then finally the students go, no, man, we want to be the banana slugs.
I almost went to Santa Cruz for school. I got
Gee,
there
who
and
would
was
have
like,
ever imagined that,
I would
folks?
never go to class. I would be in somebody's tree somewhere.
But
Reading poetry.
The point of all this in the full circle is that when you have somebody who does debrief you, and so for instance, I've been, this guy Frank Coppola, who's a professor of ADHD back there in New York. I said, you got to get a hold of the cops, because one of the things we've got to start helping with, Mark understands this, when you are trying to get a neurodiverse person on the street, take, for instance, the youngster in Colorado who is a violinist.
That one hurts my soul.
And for a reason. Because it makes you scared.
Yeah.
And I get it. and it is why we are addressing this. We must have children learn how to speak to people who are put in charge of controlling their behaviors, to be aware of who they are. I don't care whether it's a band they wear. I don't care whether it's a thing they say, like the Miranda Act. I'm a neurodiverse person. Please help me process what you're screaming at me to do and put your gun away.
Yeah.
I am a neurodiverse person. Now, of course, you're going to have security guys going, that won't work. You got to control that thing. You got to have that. And you're like, okay, it's a process.
But it's
we learn as we go. We go
now.
as we learn. Right. Yes.
It's this. It's
Right.
You accept that we can't get rid of all the bad apples in the system, right?
Right.
But we can proof the next bunch. We
You
can
are so
make
smart.
sure that
Yes.
the kids are learning to communicate their needs.
Yes.
And that the kids are watching, that everybody's communicating
Yes.
their needs and learning how to communicate with them.
Excellent.
My son got reprimanded the other day, and he took a minute, and I went upstairs, and he said he had just a piece of paper on his wall, on his door, that said, "Please don't come in. I'm sad." And I was like, yes, that is absolutely that boundary. Oh, I was so proud of him. Like
So you go right in the room.
I didn't. I didn't. I left him alone until he opened his door, and he came out, and I was like,
Okay.
"I'm so proud of you for putting that on the door." He's like, "Thank you for honoring it, Mom."
Good job.
That's it.
I was so
That is
proud
it.
of him.
And that's how we help people learn how to not become the hovering helicopter parent whose their neurodiversity bleeds over into the child's
part.
anxiety.
Children are triggering as hell.
and you're triggering something that we don't need triggered by trying to teach something that is your
Yeah.
failing. Your
Yep.
fault.
That's your trauma.
Right.
It's those generational curses, those traumas that we pass down to our kids, and it shapes us. Kids are one of the reasons why kids are so triggering, is because a lot of the things that make us who we are experiences that we had when we were their age. So you come upon, that's reflected in your kids, that emotional instability, the impulse control, like all of those things that impacted us as kids and shaped how we function in the world are now being shaped in our kids, and it's triggering as hell. Again,
Yes.
the
Yes.
debrief.
The debrief.
The
Yes,
debrief.
the debrief is just sitting there, allowing them to pour themselves out.
Yes.
So we may examine.
With them. Go ahead.
My daughter got in trouble once, and she's gonna kill me for saying this. So only one time. I mean, literally in her entire life so far, she's actually been hitting it pretty strong.
Yeah, me
all
too.
8 cylinders. But her thing was back in, oh God, I think 3rd or 4th grade. She got called in the principal's office, and we got called, and we're like, "Oh, what the heck is this?"
Right? This is weird.
Do you know what she said? Apparently, in this group of kids, and all of her girlfriends come from interesting families, that are pretty well connected and stuff. And this is Venetia Valley, K-8. Okay, so we're not talking high dollar school. It's a normal campus right near us. And what she got in trouble for was she had said, girls go to college to get more knowledge, boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. And apparently some kid heard it and started crying about it or something. They called in the SWAT team over this. It was just like, and I knew the principal well, but I'm like, really? You're calling in my wife and me over this?
Yeah, a
It was
phone
just
call to let her
stunning.
let you know.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the anxiety level for not wanting to be blamed for not
For
taking
bullying.
and so what's happened is we've overcompensated in many ways, and it's not to blame anybody. Do not blame the system, fix the system.
Yep.
And I remember a guy that I used to work with who was a great speaker, and Tom, and very powerful speaker and former military intelligence guy. He used to say, you go to a place and the screen door is busted and there's flies coming in. Everybody starts an argument over the flies, over this, over health standards and everything. Fix the screen door.
Right. Right. That's a really good.
Fix the screen door.
That's a really good analogy.
So the flies, and so fix it, And
I like that.
That's a really good analogy.
he was a military guy. He was very smart, and he was on a TV. He was on a TV show called In Search of Excellence on PBS, and Tom Peters.
Tom Peters, yeah.
And just an amazing
But
spirit.
not this Tom Peters.
Not our Tom Peters from
another Tom
Marin.
Peters.
Yeah, this is another Tom Peters, but he was fabulous, and he was really brilliant. His observations were, and this is what I try to apply: help the kids emotionally first.
Yeah.
Then you can teach them.
Yes.
Then you can teach them. Help them when they arrive. And folks, I have to say, I don't know how many times I've been in a class, and as soon as the kid knows you're emotionally safe,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
the kid says, "Hey, my dad, he beat up my mom really bad this morning, and he left her. Can you help me?" And you're there, and I'm doing stupid noises and sounds and talking about, and it's right in the middle. I go, "Honey, you be here, and we're going to deal with this in just a second, and I'm going to ask the counselor to come and call one of the folks to see if your mom's okay."
Yeah, mandated reporter.
And
You
so,
got a situation like that going.
so off the counselor goes, and I'm sitting there, and now I've got to reconstruct in my brain.
Right. You gotta shift gears.
And what's in my brain at that moment is, how many more are going to say, "Well, that happened to me"? Because I remember, God love him, President Bush went into a school in Florida, George H.W. Herbert Walker Bush, the first one, and he was talking to the kids, and he said, and he goes, "How many of you have had to deal with grief in your life?" And they all raised, "My little turtle died. My dog died." And then they all, and he's like trying to get control.
Yeah.
But it's evident
Right.
if you go sifting for emotional.
That it's there. That it's there. I don't know. I feel like I've said this at some point on this podcast or this video podcast before, but I love it conceptually. It makes absolute sense to me. We come into this world, like, as babies. We come into this world with all of the emotional capacity we will have,
Interesting.
and part of growing up is navigating it, and learning how to control it and understand it.
Pathways.
And as I have had my journey of healing and understanding and through my academics, it makes perfect sense that would be a true statement. Because the 4-year-old temper tantrum about the blue cup that should have been a pink cup can just as easily be seen in the grown man whose drink wasn't made correctly. They are the same tantrums viewed from a different lens.
Wow.
Something they cannot control something. The 4-year-old cannot control the situation he is in. The grown man cannot control the situation he is in. The difference between those two people, those two human beings, is that we expect them to be more in control of their emotions at this age. Society says temper tantrums are unacceptable. This behavior is not okay. Society says that is a grown-ass man. He can do whatever he wants.
Gotta think about that one a second.
Yeah, that hurts.
I think that for me, the grown man aspect is that I've seen different men over my lifetime, and like I've had people ask me, "Well, should I propose to her or should I not?" I'm like, look, once you make a commitment, amazing things can happen.
Right.
Just like, and I say in the world of work, when you commit to a project, when you commit to do something, boom. Same thing when you get into a relationship and you boom and you. But at a point, if you have babies, and if the man is selfish, he starts to feel like, oh man, that little guy is getting attention. He's getting to nurse on mom. He's getting all this stuff, and I'm over here on the side. And it's a weird thing in the male dynamic that unless you are not selfish,
right,
and you understand that you're a father and this is your child and this is your wife and your family unit, come on. You know,
Right.
but that's where a temper tantrum or a spoiled brat at that age.
It's mirrored.
Exactly.
It's mirrored, and but the thing about it is the difference is like, to me, we should be spending all of our time and our energy on that 4-year-old and teaching him that, yes, it's a big decision. Yes, I'm sorry that you can't have this the way that you want. Let's talk about how to deal with those big feelings.
Right.
Right? So that when that same little boy is at the bar and he's like, I told you how I wanted my drink made.
I wanted it in a pink cup.
I wanted it in a pink cup.
I see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was a bouncer
than
in a bar. I
throwing
get
a
it.
fit about it, he can articulate, like, I've already told you once that I wanted it this way. If you would please remake it for me, that would be excellent.
I get it. I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but-
And they're the same emotions,
Right.
and particularly about new things. Adult anxiety comes from control, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to have control of our situation. We want to have control of the choices that we can. And an emotionally mature individual understands that there's only so much in the world that we can control.
Yep.
There's only so many choices that we can make and then we can respond to accordingly. So if we have the patience of that understanding with a 4-year-old, this is the very first time he's tried to tie his shoes. He's tried it 4 times. He's going to cry. He's stressed out.
Yeah.
He's stressed out like you would be if you were
A
4
follows
hours
B,
into.
follows C.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's stressed
so-
out in the same way you
So
would
real
be.
quick, we are
Yeah.
at our time
Right.
already.
I don't care.
I know.
I had so much to
I know.
share.
Roz-
I was going to
Roz
share a
in
whole bunch of
charge.
stuff.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. Next time.
Next time. So next Thursday then?
Yeah.
Okay. We will not derail you next Thursday.
Okay.
I promise. Don't forget all the things you want to share. Can we have
It's all
15
good
more
to
minutes,
listen.
boss?
I mean, I have to head out, but
Okay, bye.
so
Oh my God.
so that's up to you guys.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I wanted to just kind of bring it back real quick. One of the things that you talked about when you started the show was the work experience at 12, right?
Yes.
And we kind of went, whoop.
Yep.
We sure
And
did.
I think that was one of the things I started working when I was in middle school. Like I
Exactly
worked
my
at a
point.
deli before I went to school.
Me too.
Yep.
Right? And then I was doing my own chores and things like that and working and earning and all that. And I think you're right about just learning to engage with people of all ages and
Right.
all neurodiversities and all levels as a middle schooler working for someone else or working for society in that capacity gives you that capability to possibly understand that 4-year-old
Yeah.
later on in life.
Well, also you mature, and I think
Right.
what's really important here is that I bought my own first car from my earnings when I was 15 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and that car was mine.
Right.
Yeah.
I owned it.
Right.
Yeah.
I took care of it.
Yeah.
And in that development concept,
Oh, man.
when you have so many kids, and let's call it Marin County, Dad has given them the keys to the BMW or
Oh, I just-
Mercedes.
Yeah.
They don't know what a BMW or Mercedes even really
Yeah.
is in the scheme of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Just give them a Ford Pinto. But at the other side, yeah. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's how you value things,
Right.
Right.
And so if I give you this iPhone, here, it's free. Oh, it's free. So boom, I drop it. So what? It's free.
Right.
But if I say no, this thing is $2,000,
Right.
you're going to say, oh shit, I'll take better care of it.
Right.
Right.
So it's kind of getting those things ingrained at an early age. And if I
Yeah.
could, so that we don't come back to this next time.
Oh, no, we're not done.
is-
He's leaving. We're still talking.
No, he's still here. We're not going to let him go.
Okay.
But the bottom line is that okay, we're both Air Force. I think we've covered that before. All right. And so what happened is one of my experiences in the donut shop, it was Winchell's Donuts.
Yes.
And it was owned by this couple. He was the son of Dutch Floor. Dutch Floor was one of these police chiefs in Santa Rosa who was just historic. And I don't know if you ever heard of Dutch, but Dutch was this big, towering guy and just really kind, though. I met him a number of times. Bill, his son, ended up downline marrying the assistant police chief's daughter, Beverly. Okay, so Bill and Beverly. But Bill would tell me story after story after story.
The legacy of donuts. Go ahead.
So how he got in trouble, Bill got in trouble as a teenager doing all kind of stupid shit in high school. And his dad was police chief, though, so he thought he got a free pass until he's in front of the judge. And judge says, Bill, you got 2 choices here. I either have to put you into jail or you join the military. And that that was a choice that was given to many young men.
Yep.
Right.
Around, yeah, I know. Many young men around the nation
Yes.
at that time, because it's like, hey, and get out of here.
Spoiled
And so, when I was in the military, a lot of my counterparts came from difficult environments around the nation,
Exactly.
but this was their ticket to get
and
out
out.
of there, up and out.
Yeah.
Gave them a paycheck, gave them discipline,
Structure.
uniform, structure,
Give
gave
them
them
purpose.
training, education, gave them a job. I mean, some of the jobs are just phenomenal within the military environment. And so, I get a lot of folks who don't understand military environments at all. Both Michael and I have gone through it, survived it, thrived in it.
Yeah.
And it made us the men who we are today in many ways.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. The one other thing I wanted to share was last Wednesday, we had an incredible SLEP meeting. And I don't know if you're, SLEP stands for
School Law Enforcement
Partnership
Partnership.
at Marin County Office of Education. And so Mary Jane Burke and Sheriff Doyle, 20 plus years ago, decided to build this group, and was the first one in the state. I don't know how many others there are now, but this is the first one. And it really was about the level of fentanyl deaths that we've been having.
Yeah.
And the numbers are just keep on. And there's a young man over at R.G. Williams High School named Henry Pratt, Jr., who wrote a great article, and it went out November 1st. And actually, it's been nationally recognized, awarded, phenomenal article. And he got Tori Kropp and Michelle Leopold, who both lost sons to fentanyl. And so that was A+. Then about a month and a half later, two young reporters from Redwood High School, our senior females, Taylor and Keeley, they wrote an article. And so these two articles were really leading the SLEP meeting. I brought in DEA to share information, then ArcSafe Marin came into it. And it's just, when you look at our environment and what we're struggling with, next time I'm going to bring a couple samples of this booklet that has
Yes.
been a game changer in our county,
Please.
called Let's Talk.
Yeah.
And you could go to letstalkmarin.org and see it. But this is the booklet that now goes to all 6th grade parents, direct mail to their homes, all 9th grade parents, because that parent education piece, and with it, we put in other information, mental health, mental health and wellness, a lot of other things. And so we've started, and then these booklets are also backed up by talks around the county
Nice.
that connect to the booklet. So next time I'll bring
That's
it.
awesome.
Yes.
But
please
I
do.
just think that when you look at our battleground of what we're dealing with,
One of the wealthiest communities in the world, Marin County. One of the wealthiest communities in the world.
yeah,
All right. And the thing is that all our job is to just do what we're doing. We're helping. This is just very important. This work and getting you here
Yeah.
always.
It's why I'm making Mark come back again and again and again. Like
Thank you.
this is
Yeah, you don't have an option.
a rebuild.
Yes.
Like this is
Yes,
how we make
exactly
a
right.
difference.
But before
This
you
is how
close,
you do
if
it.
I could share two things that bug the crap out of me.
Yes.
Near misses. Every time we lose a student,
Right.
there's a number of other ones
Yeah.
who attempt, and they're called near misses. And that is not tracked. That is not recognized really. And so, I'm also haunted by ghosts.
Yeah.
And what ghosts are is, I'm aware of a 14-year-old female who ended her life recently, but getting to her family, getting to her parents, getting that connection. I've encouraged our behavioral health recovery services unit at HHS in this county for years. You should have a dedicated 1 or 2 people that approach a family
Yeah.
when they've had a loss
Yeah.
Yeah.
to make sure they're getting services,
Yeah.
and because other siblings and the mom and dad are at risk.
Higher risk as a
Well,
result.
it goes back to that debrief.
That seems really obvious.
We
I
dealt
know.
with that very issue when we had a mom come in and speak,
Yeah.
and she lost her second child.
Yeah.
So.
Which is
Thank you.
devastating.
This is devastating.
good
I'm
man.
so sorry to leave that
Yeah.
on that note, you guys, but I promise you we will pick up that note and make it a good one next Thursday at Donuts for Breakfast with more Mark Dale and Michael Pritchard and Trevor Henley
And Rafisby.
and Rob Feasby. And of course, remember to be people helping people. Share a smile. Share your story. You never know if your story is going to be the one that saves someone's life.
Yeah.
We will see you next Thursday. I'm out.
Well, you can't wait. You gotta wait. You gotta sit there and smile for a while.